My name is Dennis Sanchez, and I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Trends. Today, we will talk about cyber risks in the metaverse. Now, before we talk about these risks, let's talk about the metaverse first. So, the metaverse, there's a lot of interest going on today, most especially because we talk about it that it's going to be part of Web 3.0 or the next generation of the internet. So to simply put it, the metaverse is like a combination of persistent, multi-user, shared, and 3D virtual spaces that are intertwined with the physical world and merged together to create a unified and perpetual virtual universe. There are components that need to be there for the metaverse to exist. One, virtual reality. So with the use of VR headsets, smart glasses, we can now immerse ourselves in a computer generated environment with scenes and objects that appear to be real, making the user feel that they are immersed with their surroundings. This environment is perceived through a device known as a virtual reality headset or maybe a virtual reality helmet. And then there's augmented reality. So this one enables us to interact with computer generated images superimposed against the real world. Next, and probably most importantly, are avatars. So this is how we can interact with each other with items and applications and other businesses inside this metaverse with our identity represented by this avatar. And of course, this avatar will be carrying with himself a digital wallet. So comes in digital currencies. So you know about Bitcoins, um, Ethereum, and even NFTs as something that we can use to trade online today. And of course, we also have artificial intelligence. So this will help us automate tasks while inside the metaverse. It can also assist us or improve our decision making. And with all this decision making that needs to be done by computers, expect a lot of data collection as well. All right. Now, after we've discussed what the metaverse is, let's now look at the risks. New world, new risks. One thing that we all understand is that in the internet, there's no single country or it won't belong to one government. So therefore, it will lack regulations. No, again, no single country, that means no boundaries and decentralized governance. Misinformation. We actually experienced this today on the internet. There's a lot of fake news, a lot of rumors, and just a lot of information that are not really easy to validate. But we, as people in the computing world, just accept it, from the moment we see it. And then there's data mining, another thing that we experience today in social media. Our personal information can be collected with the things we share. Okay, and in all these different platforms that we use, we we have personal and sensitive information that may leak through, in areas that we are not careful that we are sharing this information. But now, expect that it's not just about uh, the users. It's not just about our personally identifiable information, but also our personal characteristics, our physical characteristics with our avatars, and maybe even sharing our behaviors, online. So it's something that can be mined and can be used against us. Financial fraud. Again, we go back to cryptocurrencies where there's really no single country that governs over it, and not a lot of banks can also have a way to govern or control this type of currency. So expect a lot of scams going on as well, and a lot of misinformation regarding using this type of currency, which leads to privacy issues. Okay, so the metaverse will provide much more personal information about its users, not only to the platforms, but to all the other users. And notably, there will be a lot more real world information about user habits. Maybe just like what I said earlier, physiological characteristics. And all these will now be shared and can be used to identify us, which will bring us to the next one, is which is identity theft. With all this information, somebody can assume your identity and make use of your identity to do online transactions in your behalf. And lastly, data breaches, something that would be very important in our businesses. So there could be a lot of critical information or confidential data that will be shared and exposed while we are in the metaverse. So with all these new risks that we encounter, we would need to be prepared, and we would want to look at how we can mitigate these risks. So for risk mitigation, let's talk about different ways to do that. And one is to control misinformation. So we would like to monitor all the data that comes in and out and try to validate, try to verify the sources and see if there's truth to what is going around. Also want to verify identities. So we should make use of verifiable credentials that should be easily structured and allows us to enable easier identification of fellow community or team members, or to enable configurable access to varying virtual world locations and experiences. So some examples may include MFA, OTP, or um, even biometrics. And then user education. So maybe this would be the most important, because a lot of the attacks will be towards our users, and those who are lacking knowledge about cyber attacks, most especially social engineering, will be the most vulnerable. So as much as possible, we want to educate them about online scams and how to verify or validate information. One thing that we could also implement is a centralized trust model. So this is a way where we can use cryptography or encryption to validate authenticity, maybe even the integrity of each member or each transaction that joins our space. And then the zero trust framework. So the zero trust framework is a security framework requiring all users, whether in or outside the organization, the network to be authenticated, authorized, and continuously validated for security configuration and posture before we grant them or we give them access to applications and data. Zero trust will assume that there's no traditional network edge, and that networks can be either local, in the cloud, or maybe a combination, or what we say a hybrid. So different resources could be anywhere, and the workers could be in any location. But with this framework, there's a certain trust that we can rely on because of the use of the technology that we can use to validate integrity and of course authenticity of all transactions. Talking about zero trust model, we have Trends Fortify that would implement this. It will start off by providing visibility and control of all policies and those that are violated, and it will also set safeguards in place to mitigate risks. So this framework securing used for securing infrastructure and data for today's modern digital transformation, like the metaverse, um, uniquely will address the modern challenges of the today's business, including remote working, work from home, hybrid cloud environments, maybe even malware threats. So while many vendors will be trying to come up with solutions, Trends 45 will try to put together all these solutions and services to be able to uh, come up with a way we can mitigate risks. So thinking about the metaverse, there's still a lot of things that are unknown. There's still a lot of things that have not been completely realized. But we know that we will be handling data. So we want to make sure that we are able to control and secure this data from the back end. So there should be people that we can rely on to give us services or products and solutions that will help us protect this data. It still boils down to that, making sure that we can work with data and information that is trustworthy, especially that we will be jumping into a world that we are, uh, that we have not really been very familiar with. Okay, but then with all this being said, we can still be just courageous and jump into the metaverse and improve our lives together with the new technology. So that ends my presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at tnsanchez@trends.com.ph. And thank you very much.